What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Today is a Lancaster unboxing, Lancaster Archery Supply, where they send me something, I open it up, and a lot of times I don't even know what it is. This one, I know it is a sight, but I'm not 100% sure what it is and all the features of it. So we're gonna dive on in, open this up, get it set up on a bow, and shoot it a little bit, and just kind of give my honest feedback on it. So, if you guys don't know Lancaster Archery Supply, you can get literally anything you want in the entire world, in the archery world, next day if you're that impatient. But it's a great resource. Make sure you check them out, LancasterArcherySupply.com. Opening this bad boy up. Okay, there we go. Spot Hog Fast Eddy with the triple stack. Seems like the triple stack has been super popular and in high demand, and it seems like Spot Hog might be having some issues on getting it out there. So these are like gold right now. It's kind of hard to find, but Lancaster does have some. They just got some, and that's why I have one to do a video on it. But I'm actually kind of excited to see what this site is all about because of all the hype around it. So it is not a dovetail mount. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a dovetail mount or not. This one just bolts onto the side of the bow, which is totally fine. It's gonna work exactly the same. You got, I'm guessing those are the front scope rings, so I guess we'll talk about that first. What comes stock on it is this one, and then this one might be, it looks like a reducer of some sort, and then this one is just a single guy. So if you like that sort of style of lining up your peep sight with that, it is nice, and we can talk about that a little bit later. We've got some hardware in here, it looks like, just a little bracket, an Allen wrench, which is nice. It looks like a cut-off Allen wrench, so there's probably a very tight place where you got to get that. And then inside of the packaging, we have sight tapes, and lots of sight tapes, and it has some instructions. Sight in at 20 yards, and install your calibration scale. Sight in at 60 yards and select what tape works. So that's kind of cool. They got that for you right there. Lots of sight tapes. 36 different sight tapes. Taped on the inside as well. There are some basic instructions. So this sight on Lancaster's website is $369.99. So this is a premier hunting sight. It's definitely high quality, highly made, and the price definitely shows for it. But I think it's going to be a really versatile site, and I think if you're into hunting, into target, and all the above, I think it'll be a really good option. Right off the bat, just playing around with it a little bit, it is pretty adjustable. So we have right here, I'll just talk about this left and right windage bracket. It has 5 examples here of different configurations that you can actually shift this left and right quite a bit. And I think why they have to do that is because the actual left and right micro adjustment space isn't as big as some of the other space. So instead of a big micro adjustment space, they have 5 different macro adjustments, if that totally makes sense. So in order to change left and right, you have to flick this switch right here, just like that, and then you spin this little dial that shifts the sight left or right. So right now I'm shifting it to the left, and there is no marks or anything, so you kind of just have to watch the sight move and to kind of get a feel for it, which I'm sure you would just get used to over time. It is nice that there is a lock on it, and once it is locked down, there's nothing, but I could definitely see if you ever forget to do that, it's gonna be loud and rattly, so you always have to make sure that's locked down. So left and right adjustment, pretty solid. It is micro adjustable, and there's a lock on it. As far as up and down adjustment, all Spot Hogs come with this dial wheel on the side, which is kind of a custom in a lot of different sites, and they do have this lock on the bottom. So it is in the locked position right now. You have to unlock it in order to move it, and then you just move the dial. And I really do like Spot Hog's dial. It's a little bigger, it's really gritty, so you have a good grip to it. A lot of times if you're wearing gloves or it's super cold and it's like just like small and slippery, like a smooth metal, it can be kind of hard. So I do like that. You also have your 3 indicators on there for your 3 pins that are all micro adjust by 1 Allen wrench, so you can move those to however you want them, 20, 30, 40, 20, 25, 30, however you want that. Moving in on the internals, just kind of noticing, because I do have it exposed, the internal gear is plastic, which I think is totally fine. but I could maybe see some wear and tear over time, and it is exposed. So maybe some dirt could get in there or something. I don't know. So that's maybe something just to keep an eye on, is that it is exposed. So maybe just don't dunk your sight in like a sandy beach or something, and you'd probably be fine. Diving in further, like I said, this is not the dovetail mount. So you have two different adjustment slots or two different positions that you have to mount this on the bow. So if you have the new V3X or anything, you couldn't actually insert it into the riser. You would have to bolt it on the side. The front housing, like I mentioned, we got out of the box. We have three options here. Looks like we have a reducer of some sorts and like the double line things. And all you do is, I think, yep, you just twist this off. There we go. So you can see, yeah, that one's way bigger than these. So let's just say we wanted to swap this out. I won't screw it. Oop. Hello. That was my fault. I didn't want to make sure I don't strip these. Okay, there we go. So you can see that's just a little bit smaller. It's not as big. So if you wanted to run like a smaller peep sight, you can do that. And I think this is the 41 millimeter. I didn't see anything where it says, but if I had to guess, this is a 41 millimeter or their bigger size scope housing. And the scope housing is not replaceable on this. You couldn't put like a UV3 or anything on it. This is the scope housing that you get. Going up on top, they do have a lot of exposed fiber. So I'm assuming that there is a lot of just natural sunlight coming in. Also looks like they have a thread hole right there where you can put like maybe aftermarket, or they have a little light where you can screw into the side and it'll actually brighten up the fibers. They do have a bubble on the front down here, a nice small green one. So there is a set screw for every pin, so there's 3 set screws on the side, and it is the same Allen wrench as the adjustment Allen screw, which is nice. So you can see that you just stick it in. I gotta find it. So you find the pin, you just have to loosen it. I'm assuming just maybe a turn or so. And you come up top here, and there's 3 screws also, one for every individual pin. Same Allen wrench size. Put it in there, and then I don't know if you can tell. You gotta focus. When you spin this, you can see it. It just moves. It's moving down right now. So essentially, you know, what I would probably recommend, because this is pretty standard per sight, is you get your dial where you want it. So like on the, you know, the higher side of the, no wait, the lower side of the dial, I guess, so that you have maximum range. So you put the dial kind of where you want it, and then you bring your 20 pin up or down to your 20 mark, and then you set up your dial so you can use, you know, the full 100 yards on it, rather than setting up the dial like in the middle and then you're bottoming out at like 80 yards or whatever. So that allows you to do that. You get your 20, and then you can bring up for your 25 or your 30. So I think with like a 3-pin setup for hunting situations, I'd probably do like a 20, 30, 40, so that if I ever, you know, say if I'm just deer hunting in the rut or whatever, and a buck's just running by, and I know that the trail he's on is 30, and I can just pick up my bow and I don't have to range him or anything, and I can just shoot him, compared to actually moving your sight or something like that. So 20, 30, 40, 25, 20, 25, 30, something like that would probably be totally cool. So for your second axis adjustment, which is essentially on flat ground, you're using the bubble in there, so you can use a jig or like even like something straight. If you know something straight, like this table, you could just put it up against it and get your second axis level. But what you have to do is you have to loosen this bolt right here, this bolt right here, and then unique to the Spot Hog, I've never really seen this before, but there's 2 little set screws on the side. So I loosened both of them right now so that this sight can teeter back and forth like that. It's essentially a long groove that bolt just like floats back and forth in. And what you do, I guess, is you spin these set screws down. So like, you know, you spin one a little bit, then you come to the other side and you spin the other one a little bit until you have it tightened down. And it's probably gonna be a little bit of just like back and forth, spinning one side, spinning the other side. With this preferably on the bow level or in a jig of some sort, until you get this bubble level on 0 ground. Then for your third axis, they have it kind of on like a teetering little half circle right here, and you have to loosen each of these bolts. And I already loosened them, but you can see it kind of shifts back and forth like that. So you're gonna have to go back and forth and tighten one a little bit and tighten the other one a little bit to get that set up, which is a micro adjust in its purest form, but there's no clicks, there's no anything. You loosen it up and it just kind of loosens. So that sometimes can be a frustrating battle, but they're all kind of like that. But Spot Hogg definitely has their own unique way of using this half moon system for their third axis, and then their little set screws on each side for their second axis. So it does have second and third axis, which is really good and important. But yeah, I think that's about all of the features of this bad boy. But we're gonna slap this on a bow and just kind of see how it is, and then we're gonna get the second and third axis lined up, and then just shoot a bit, see how it feels. So the two little screws that they provide you are how you're gonna mount it onto the bow. So make sure you don't lose those. And then we got a V3X here. So like I was saying, you can't use a bridge lock because obviously that doesn't make any sense. What we're gonna do though is just mount it right to the side of the bow. I said that completely wrong. So there's only one mounting area because I just realized that these two are threaded. So this must be the quiver bracket holes, these 4 screw options, and you have to mount it right in the center right here. Okay, so there we go. That's it on the bow. Looks pretty good. Looks like there's a lot going on, because there is a lot going on, a lot of moving parts in this deal. So what we're gonna do to get the third axis and stuff set up, since there isn't a dovetail and I have a jig set up to do it in dovetails, I'm actually gonna use the bow press. So that's probably the only level we need exactly. And you can see it is just slightly, it's like touching this far line. But I'm actually not too worried about that, because as long as this matches this, doesn't matter if this is 100%. In order to do this second axis, I think what I'm going to do is back out these set screws all the way so that I have full range of motion. And I think this is actually probably the best way to do this, so that you're not have a headache of going back and forth. But you can see you have all of that adjustability there. I think I'm going to snug this just a smidgen. I'm going to put this in the correct spot, which is just barely touching this line, because this bubble is just barely touching this line. Double check, because always when you tighten down it, there's a good chance that it moved, but it didn't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten these set screws down. I guess just probably snug. I'm going to take this guy off, and then I'm going to really tighten this front one down. And then really tighten the set screws down. So that's probably the main reason it's not, these set screws aren't for micro adjust. They're just to make sure that it doesn't shift left or right, because it's not a, it's an oblong hole, so there probably is just potential for it to get bumped or something in the field. Okay, so we have our second axis all good and dandy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this ham ski level back on the sight. In the sight right now, this part of the sight doesn't move. So this is like 100% square with the bow and with the earth. So it's neutral essentially. So we're gonna tip this down, and this is why this type of bow press is really nice. Bow press that can just move on you. You can see that this one is in the middle, and then that one's slightly off. So even though we set the second axis, the third axis, which is whenever you tip the bow uphill or downhill, this bubble in the third axis is now affected. So we're gonna use this little Allen, or this bigger Allen wrench that they supplied. One of them, not sure what one. Yeah, I loosened the correct one, and now I'm gonna tighten down the opposite one. It's like a teeter-totter. Okay, so check those bubbles out. That's pretty dang good. And I think we're gonna leave it there. And that actually wasn't too bad doing that on that teeter-totter system. Essentially, you loosen one and you tighten the other one to shift it all down. So you can just like quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn until you get it right. So we're gonna switch this back, double check. Yep, they're both the same. And you can even do, we're doing an uphill shot. What do we got? We got pretty much the same. The bubble's off to the right there, as long as they're the same. Because the press isn't square right now, so it's like moving the bow, but we know what the bow level is, and as long as it's good with the sight level, we're good. So there you go. That was actually really easy. Pretty user-friendly, as long as you have this cut-off Allen wrench. If you don't have this cut-off Allen wrench, it is almost impossible to do this third axis. So make sure you don't lose this. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is just get our left and rights decent. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back up to about 8 yards. And if I'm about right on at 8 yards, I'm about on at 20. So I'll at least be able to get rough and not miss the complete target out there. Okay, so I was aiming at the top left one, so I'm way left and low. So I at least can get like from here, a pretty decent, can get sighted in pretty decently, especially left and right. So we're already pretty far left, so I'm actually gonna have to move this bracket. So I'm gonna move the micro adjust back into the middle because I already have it cranked pretty far left. Now I'm gonna move this bracket just over. I'm gonna have to take it apart and see what it looks like. So we were right there, and all we're gonna do is move it over here. So we're gonna get, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch of adjustment. So hopefully we're not maxed out now too far to the left. All right, we're all adjusted. Let's see where we land. Okay, better. Better. Pretty close. Okay, so we're a little high. We should be good though. I think I'm gonna fling one outside. This is probably gonna make a lot of people cringe. Custom. So we're gonna fling them out the window into the frozen tundra. Oh, nice. So we hit right in the middle where we want to. And we got sighted in at 8 yards. 8 or 9 yards is exactly your 20-yard pin, roughly. Very nice. Dropping everything today. Let me see what my 30 is like. Right in the middle, nice. So my second pin is 30. Let's see what 40's like. 40's probably decent too. Oh yeah, I see it now. So not bad. Pretty much they're set up 20, 30, 40, ready to go. And my 40, all I would have to do to adjust it is go in this little side screw. Come at the bottom, twist it a little bit, make sure you tighten it back down. To have a 3-pin setup like this is nice. It's very similar to like the Trophy Ridge. Trophy Ridge did this a while ago, but they had like 7 and it wasn't a slider. So for those of you that still want to shoot farther and have multiple pins, this is a really good option. Oh, that might have been 12 ring. That looks decent. Not bad. The ability to just jump around like that. I mean, it's pretty much a 3-pin sight, but it's a slider. So what it boils down to pretty much on what sight to select is personal preference and what you're shooting. So to close this video out, I just wanted to talk one final time just about, this is the triple stack, a 3-pin adjustable sight, but it also is a slider. So you can shoot any sort of distance you want. But in your sight picture, you do have 3 pins to pay attention to, which I have found in the moment sometimes can be confusing if you have a ton of pins. You got to calculate and going between the gaps. So like for me, myself, I choose a double pin like this. So a little bit simpler and a little bit farther apart. So I'm always focused on my top pin, but I have an emergency second pin in case the animal or the target is a little farther and I don't really have time to move my sight. And this is on an Excel landslide. Now another example, oh wow, nice, no pin. This one is the Excel Accu-Touch and it has just a single pin. So this is like a strictly, you have one aiming reticle, one distance, which in itself has pros and cons. This is the Spot Hog Fast Eddy, but it has the single pin in it, right? Yeah, single pin. So you have all of the features of the triple stack, but in a dovetail model and with a movable single pin on it. And then we have just an HHA model that has their own setup and everything. So there's pros and cons to everything, and I think that is really important. And I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Like, so many people have so many opinions and biases on brands and what they want, but really it's what fits your needs best and what even fits your price point best. So there's a lot of options out there, and that is one thing why I really enjoy these Lancaster unboxings, is because I'm super unbiased about it, and I want just to educate and show you guys all the options available out there. So this one, Fast Eddie, triple stack, very popular, very much wanted to the public because you can't find them anywhere. So luckily I got my hands on one. Got you guys unboxing tutorial. Make sure to check it out, lancasterarchery.com, for all of your archery needs. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.